Hi, I'm Ken Kessler, and welcome to the Sounds of Christmas podcast. If you're new to this podcast, I want to start by saying thanks for joining us. If you're not new to us, welcome back. Either way, I'm very glad you're here. Now, to avoid any confusion, I want to say that there won't be any music played here. This is a place for conversation. I'll talk about Christmas music and some related topics, sometimes by myself and sometimes with guests. If you're looking for music, just go to soundsofchristmas.com and click on the tree or the player on the front page or on the Listen Now page. We play the best variety of Christmas music all year long. Well, except in October, when we play the best variety of Halloween music. This particular podcast episode is being recorded as June is winding down and Christmas in July is almost upon us. I thought it would be fun to talk to Jeff from MyMerryChristmas.com about Christmas in July, as MyMerryChristmas.com has lots of events coming up next month, and everybody listening right now can be a part of it. Hi, Jeff. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Before we get into Christmas in July, can you talk a little bit about MyMerryChristmas.com in case there's anybody listening who's not familiar with it?
Well, I would hope everybody knows this by now. We've only been at this for about 30 years, making us probably one of the oldest Christmas venues online still surviving. And it's a continually evolving kind of thing. It's a rather active and broad-based Christmas community that's available to anybody for free year-round.
As somebody who loves Christmas all year round, it's great to be able to connect with other people all over I was going to say all over the country, but really all over the globe, who also love Christmas all year round. And they are very active. I don't know how many forums are there, but there are tons of activity every single day, new things being posted by people, sharing recipes and favorite songs and traditions. And it's so much fun. And it really starts to ramp up this time of year, which, may sound funny to some because we're just coming to the end of June. But for Christmas in July, I was just taking a peek at the calendar on mymerrychristmas.com, and there is tons of stuff coming up.
Well, there's a lot of stuff we don't even have on the calendar yet. We've always looked at Christmas in July as a way of bringing the community together, and we try to showcase stuff that's new or different. And it's been pretty active the last couple of years because the last couple of years have been really different. I mean, last July was just crazy. Everybody was home and kind of isolated, and it was kind of a popular place to be last July. And we learned a lot because we were able to bring in people we normally couldn't get in before for Christmas in July. And we hope to continue that this year so that we could just showcase what's new and different out there.
Just to give you a little taste of what's coming in Christmas in July, there's a bunch of contests. They're doing different chats with Christmas experts, not Christmas creators, but creators of all things Christmas, different forum gatherings, some watch parties around events on Hallmark and QVC, and exchanges. That's one thing that I want to talk about that I think is really neat. Christmas card exchanges and ornament exchanges. It's so cool that people all over can connect and find a Christmas family on mymerrychristmas.com, and you can exchange cards and ornaments. Has this been something that's been going on for the entirety of the website?
No, it's something that we founded about 16 years ago, really when we added forums to our site. And that sounds like a long time now, but boy, it feels like just yesterday that we started. But the Christmas card exchange has become a cherished tradition. We've got a number of folks who've been in it from the very beginning. And it's even created traditions within itself with, certain kinds of cards that are being sent and personalities that send them. And it's really a touching thing, I think, to freak out your mailman to see him bring cards from all over the world. I've actually had a mailman say, "Who are you?" Because, you get these piles of cards from people and they're from, the Netherlands or Australia, New Zealand, or Japan, wherever, folks who've joined the community and are there year round. And, those who are interested join up with the exchange, and we send cards every year. And it's really one of the big events of the entire year. And we start it with Christmas in July, give time for that list to build.
And what I really like about it is that nobody has to participate, but you can still follow along if you like. So if you're not ready to jump in yet, and you're listening to this and you think it sounds like it's kind of neat, you can check it out on the website and get a feel for what it's like, because people will start posting things, talking about the different kinds of cards and the different kinds of ornaments, and there's joy to be had there, which I think is just it's just wonderful that there is this spirit of Christmas that you help carry on all year long. And the card exchange and the ornament exchange are just wonderful things that really bring that home. It is true whether you participate or not. And if you're new to it, maybe you're not sure if you're ready to, but you can check it out and see how it works, and kind of get to know, as well as you can, just like in any other kind of social media, kind of get to know some of the people that participate in it, and you get a feel for it. And I bet you, if you do that, you'll be one of the first ones who wants to be a part of it next year, if you don't just get caught up in everything and want to jump on this time around.
Yeah, we're a community, and it's a personal connection. Folks get to know each other as they talk about stuff year round that's related to Christmas, but the exchange is one where people get to connect. And what comes with that are stories and experiences. People get to know each other's lives. They become friends. And that really is what lacks, I think, a lot in social media and stuff that goes on online, is you have separation from people. But this is something that brings people together. A number of years ago, we started a thing that we call Santa's Sleigh, which is just a little effort to try and help families in need at Christmas. And that grew out of the Christmas card exchange. It was an idea that somebody had, and we all just kind of tossed it around for a while until it came together. And part of that is something that we call Operation Christmas Cheer, which is kind of like a Christmas card exchange, but it's us sending cards to folks who are shut in or who otherwise might not be able to enjoy much of a personal touch at Christmas. And so that's a little separate list that we keep. And I could tell you it's benefited me personally. My mom, before she passed away, was part of Operation Christmas Cheer. And I can't tell you how much it touched her to receive cards from people all over the world that just said, "Hey, we're thinking of you and want you to have a Merry Christmas." And so this is a very easy thing to get behind, because it's perfect. It feels good for everybody.
For somebody to take part, and I probably should have asked this at the beginning, if they're not already connected to MyMerryChristmas.com, what do they need to do?
Well, just go and join the site, get involved with it. We have a number of activities, as you've said, related to Christmas in July, and one of them is a membership drive. One of the things I think that makes our card exchange different, it's not huge. It's not thousands of names. And in fact, it usually ends up being about 100 cards every year that we send. And that's because we restrict it to our premium members. We do that, though, to control the list. Because what you get on Facebook groups or other places that do card exchanges is you get these massive lists, and there's no way your normal person has the time or the money to send out cards to thousands of people. And by controlling the access this way, we have a quality list. Everybody on the list participates. Everybody sends to everybody else, and that gives us a really good exchange every year. So we do this membership drive every year, where if you know someone on My Merry Christmas, or if you just get to know someone on My Merry Christmas, you can get a premier membership for free that will allow you to get into the exchange for the year. And so it's a controlled access thing that we use to get to know each other. And we have people who are active every day on the website who participate in the list, and we have people who are only there seasonally that participate in the list, but everybody participates, and that's the important thing of it.
And it is free You can be part of this website, and it's free. There are certain perks, and you're saying that right now, I'm not sure if it's right now or if it's coming up in July, that you can get a upgrade, I guess.
It's a premier membership is what
Yeah.
it's called. And we do this every year. We've done it for years this way, and it gives people a chance to get to know the premium features of our site, and decide whether or not they want to participate at that level. Some do, some don't, but it gives everybody the opportunity to get in on the Christmas card exchange. And I guarantee you, it is the best exchange you're going to find online easily, because you're amongst friends.
I wanted to kind of underscore the free part of it, because I didn't want this to sound like we're doing a podcast to try and build up membership and make everybody rich, because that's not what
Right.
this is all about at all. So you can
Exactly.
You can check out this website if you haven't already. And you probably have. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm pretty sure you have, but just in case you haven't, you want to check it out, and you can get connected to it, and there's nobody's shaking you down for anything. So I didn't want it to sound like all the things that we're going to be talking about are going to be extra things that are going to cost you more.
We really work hard on that, Ken, during Christmas in July, because we feature a lot of folks out there, Christmas light people, Christmas music people, Christmas foodies. I mean, there's so many subsets that belong to the Christmas community, and there's so much expertise that's out there that the entire emphasis of Christmas of July is that it's a showcase. We're not selling anything. We want people to find what's new and then go out and explore it. And that's our goal with Christmas in July, even with our own stuff, with the exchanges and with our membership drive. It's not about making money. It's not about selling anything. In fact, we don't sell anything on the website other than premier memberships for stuff that costs us money to provide. So, and that's what we've always been about anyway.
I'm so glad that you explained that, because I didn't want this to sound like this is a big commercial to try and make money, because that's not the case at all. I was a part of Christmas in July last year. I represented the Sounds of Christmas, and we did a chat about the Sounds of Christmas and about the library of music we play and a lot of that kind of stuff. And I was not the only music person there. I know Drew Flowers, who I had on the podcast a few weeks ago, was on talking about, he was on a couple times, I think, talking about music and also talking about movies. And you had at least one person from Kringle Radio, I believe.
Yeah. And, and that's what we're looking for, though, is different folks who are out there. Christmas creators, I think, is what the term you'd used earlier. And that's exactly what it is. It's what you are. It's what I am. We each have our own little spin on Christmas, and that's all we're trying to do is introduce that to the world. And it's fun. It's fun to get together during these hot summer days to share what we've got coming up for the next few months for Christmas.
I know that one of the things that I always learn about or learn from, I should say, is the recipe contest. Has that been an annual thing for a long time?
Well, no, we have an ancillary site that we operate called Merry Christmas Recipes. And we got our base for that from another guy, another expert named Matt Thompson, who's a chef. And we've just slowly built this database of Christmas related recipes. And what we're doing this year is with the Seasons Eatings podcast, we're sponsoring a contest where folks can just come and post their recipes, their favorite Christmas stuff. And it doesn't matter what it is, desserts, appetizers, whatever. We just want to refresh the database a little bit. And by holding a little contest and having a few prizes that we can give away, lets us interact together in a fun way, in a different way. We don't do this every year, but we do it every now and then. And we figured this is a good year to do it. So all during the month of July, we're going to solicit recipes from folks and put them up there for everybody to share. And there's no cost in it. Again, this is just an activity where we can have some fun, and it's a good way to meet people. It's a good way to share details. This is sponsored by Glenn Warren. He runs the Seasons Eatings podcast, but more importantly, he's been a member of our community for a number of years and always contributes stuff. about foods and recipes and things like that, because that's what he does professionally in his offline life. He's a chef. And that's what I love about doing this is we get to bring people in who have knowledge and experience, and they give willingly. They just share in a big way. And that's what's going to make this one a fun part of Christmas in July.
I want to talk a little bit about the chats, specifically the North Pole chat, where there's going to be an opportunity to chat with Santa. That's coming up, I believe, near the end of July. Is there anything that you can share about that?
Well, our Santa experience is probably our signature thing. We got started in this whole thing back in 1991 because I married a single mom with the only 5-year-old in the world who had no knowledge of Santa Claus. And our association with the North Pole and Santa Claus ever since has been pretty tight. One of the things that we do on the site every year at Christmas Eve is what we call Tracking Santa Around the World. And that's a radio program that runs for 2 solid days that provides radio news reports from North Pole Radio News. And this gets replayed during Christmas in July for those who didn't hear it the previous year. But it also includes a number of activities through our other website called SantaUpdate.com. And again, that's a completely free, commercial-free, family-friendly, kid-friendly resource to connect with Santa Claus. There's not a lot of connection with Santa Claus out there in July, and you wouldn't believe how many people want that. And so Santa comes and devotes some time. Mrs. Claus is doing the same thing. She's going to hold a chat during Christmas in July, and it's free. And, anybody can come. So bring the kids and chat with Santa.
That is so cool. What a great way to, doesn't really cap off Christmas in July, although in a way it sort of does. But I think that's terrific. One of the really interesting things that I saw that's coming up next month that I don't remember before is the Die Hard debate. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yeah.
I just think, I think the whole premise of it is very funny, but I know there are some people who take it seriously.
Well, and it comes up every year. And I've got a guy who kind of interns with us. He's a college student, and he's very passionate about Die Hard. And someone brought up, I think it was on Drew's chat last year, brought up the whole Die Hard question. Of course, as it happens every time, there's instant division. You have those who really think it's a Christmas movie and those who really think that that's a joke. And he wants to have a throwdown with it during Christmas in July. And I think, why not? It'll be a lot of fun. He's even working on a website called diehardisachristmasmovie.com, if you can believe that. And that's he's hoping to have it done by the middle of July so we can talk about this thing, because this is the biggest Christmas topic in the world to him.
And it's funny, it does come up every year, and it seems to be gaining momentum every year. There are shirts and Christmas sweaters, and there's ornaments. It is definitely becoming its own thing. And I think if you can keep the fun in it,
right,
it becomes very entertaining for everybody. And you just have to keep a sense of humor and just have fun with it.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be terrific. Is there anything coming up that we have missed that you want to make sure people know about?
Well, there's a number of things we're still working on. One of the big events last year that got missed offline was Christmas Expo. And they are trying to put things together for their show this year in Las Vegas. And I think we're going to try and bring in some experts relative to decorating, but we don't have that set up yet. Their show is, I want to say, like the 3rd week of July. It's a real busy time, but we're hoping to bring a few folks in who have some knowledge of vintage decorating and some Christmas light expertise. Those are always very popular topics. There's a number of collectors out there. This time of year is when we start to see a shift in the audience online. We have our regular everyday folk, and then we have our seasonal folk. And July is kind of when they come together and talk about stuff. And so it's a good time for us. Might not necessarily be a great time for them, but we're going to try and make it happen so that we can get some of those experts on board with us.
I know there are lots of people who, when you mention Christmas in July, they want to shake their fists and say how you're rushing the season and all of that kind of stuff. But as somebody who worked in radio, traditional radio for a long time, and worked in retail for a long time, July is the time when Christmas stuff starts to happen. I worked in a big chain bookstore, and we started getting the big coffee table kind of books
Yep.
about Christmas, whether it's recipes or decorating or what have you. And this was probably 30 years ago. And I can remember we would store them in the back, but people start coming and looking for them in July because they want to start planning, and they want to figure out what they're doing, and they want to come up with their routines and whatever it's going to be, and they start looking for that kind of stuff. And it's the same thing with radio. You start planning out the end of the year and what you're going to be doing, and you've got to figure out, I mean, Christmas music is bigger than ever on traditional radio, where many start way before Thanksgiving, and it takes a lot of preparation, and most of that is behind the scenes. But this is the time of year that everything gets rolling.
Yeah. I spent 30 years as a retail executive as well. And July was the time I would travel and hold Christmas meetings because it would take those months to prepare for the season. And we weren't necessarily rolling Christmas stuff out in July. But July, the whole theme of Christmas in July was really a 20th century retail theme, and merchants did it just to have something to do. July and October were your deadest times of the year when it came to finding something to promote. And so Christmas in July was just a way to hold a sidewalk sale or something, drum up interest to try and get people in. And that's kind of where the theme started. But these days it's funny to me because you can hold Christmas in July and every retailer or business out there can put up a banner and nobody says a word about it. But the minute the Christmas decorations hit Costco in August, the media just has kittens over it, and it just cracks me up because they didn't mind it in July, but boy, did they mind it in August, in September. And it's kind of funny. We just did Prime Day last couple days,
right,
with Amazon, and Amazon started that tradition in July. It's always been in July, and they've had to move it around because of the pandemic and everything that went with all of that. But and I don't know if down the road they're going to go back to that. I wouldn't be surprised if they'll get back into that tradition of doing it in July because the normal flow of product. This is how it kind of works, and makes it more convenient for them to do a sales event like that in July. And that's really where it all came from. But I don't find people mind so much anymore because the online world has made Christmas year round. I mean, we look at the year that we had last year, and it was crazy. Everything was turned on its head last year, including Christmas. We were busy in April like we normally are in November last year. And that just doesn't happen. And that's kind of the effect of what the pandemic did. And I think it actually was good for Christmas online. I think it's made us stronger, and I find it exciting.
I couldn't agree more. I noticed a big spike in listeners last year around this time of year, a little bit before, and certainly afterwards. People were home, and there's something that is very comforting about all things Christmas, whatever it is about Christmas that really speaks to you.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
I think music is huge for that. We saw it in our own streams as well last year, where all year long, boy, people were tuning in, and I think you're right. I think it's because there's comfort there, there's love there, and that's what people are seeking more and more, I think. And that's why music, I think, is so important to Christmas.
Yeah, on most years, ever since the Sounds of Christmas stayed on all year round, when I started doing that 6 or 7 years ago, I would notice sometime in February and March, there would be days, sometimes lots of days where there was just nobody listening. And
Right.
and that was okay. Since last year, probably sometime in March, there has always been someone listening. Every time I have checked, there has been, and
Yeah.
not just one or two, there have been a lot of people coming and going, listening, some people who leave it on for days, and and that's wonderful. And it really, as it makes me feel good to know that I'm helping in my own small
Right.
way to provide
Yep.
some kind of comfort, some hope, some healing, providing Christmas music. And it is something that there is a growing desire and hunger for, to have that sort of that comfort, that the familiarity of it. It does just make you feel good. And when you need that, it's great to be able to find it. And and if Christmas music isn't quite enough for you, there is so much more on MyMerryChristmas.com for you to find and talk about different things and discover stuff. Oh my gosh. It's just amazing. Just thinking about the things last year that I just sort of, July's a busy time for me with the Sounds of Christmas and getting all the programming done for the coming season. So I wasn't really an active participant in a lot of things, but I eavesdropped, I guess you'd say. You had somebody who was doing a thing on the Christmas villages. There was just so much. I know there were other people who do different kinds of Christmas podcasts and other kinds of Christmas radio stuff. And it's not, so it's not like you're playing favorites. And everybody, I don't pretend that if you're going to listen to Christmas music, it has to be the Sounds of Christmas. I play lots of different music, and some of it is going to be exactly what you want to hear, and some of it isn't, and that's okay. I hope you come back. But there are
Yep.
lots of different places. I know there was a Florida radio station. I don't remember where it was. I think it was in Orlando. That's a big Christmas station, and you had someone from there on. And it's just really neat to be able to find all of these different elements that make Christmas just so wonderful.
Yeah, and that's the whole point, though. I'm glad that you said all that, Ken, because um, our point here is to try and find Christmas in whatever way that we can out there, because I think the diversity of what people have to offer out there is what gives it its strength and its peace, quite honestly. And so we're always, we've always got our ear to the ground for whatever's new or whatever's different. There's always somebody coming up with something where, they're doing something different, have a different spin on things than what's been there in the past. And I had somebody the other day said, look, I was on your site in April, and, there were 200 people on, and you could tell you're getting, thousands of page views a day. And I'm thinking, how's this guy doing it in April? And it's not me, it's not us. We just have set the table, and it's the strength of the community, people like you who are doing something because you have a passion and a love for it, that I think makes Christmas so unique online. And all we want to do is showcase that, talk about it. I want people to know about Sounds of Christmas out there, because it is providing Christmas for people in ways that they haven't had it before. And there's so many things like that out there.
For anybody who's listening who is, I hate to say a Christmas expert, but if there's some area that you have a lot of skill, a lot of knowledge, something Christmas related that you're really passionate about, you should check it out. And when you go to mymerrychristmas.com, just click on the side, you'll see a little square box that says Christmas in July. And it shows a bunch of the events that are at least in the planning stages that are coming up. But when you scroll down, there's a place where you can connect and you can share with Jeff and the other folks at mymerrychristmas.com what it is that you're passionate about, that you have knowledge, skill, expertise, whatever you want to say. And maybe you can be part of this and do something. You don't have to be from Department 56. Is that too much of an eclectic thing to say? Do you think
No,
everybody knows
no,
Department
it's perfect.
56?
Yeah, no, it's totally perfect. Again, none of this is about money. We don't charge for this. We just want to get to know folks out there who have Christmas to share. And that's our goal with Christmas in July.
I think our friend Drew Flowers is a great example because he doesn't have as far as I know, he doesn't have a living that is based off of Christmas related stuff. He has a passion for collecting lots of different Christmas things, music and movies, and I think Santa Clauses, and there was something else. But it's that kind of thing. If you have that sort of passion for something, this is a great way to share that and to find other people who are kindred spirits in the same sort of stuff that you love. And you may think you're the only one that has all of those Christmas Muppet babies, but I got news for you, you're not.
That's right.
And
It's funny. Christmas offers so many different things that I think we'd want to be involved with. Like one of my things that one of these days I want to do is I want to have a train room in my house for Christmas trains. Well, I haven't been able to pull that off. I couldn't do it when my kids were home. Now I've got 8 grandkids. I'm still going to do it one of these days, but I know where I can find someone who could tell me about it. I know where I can find an expert or someone who could, tell me where I can get that kind of stuff and learn about it. And that's kind of what, Christmas in July is all about, is bringing people who have pursued those passions. I mean, you've taken your expertise in radio and your love of Christmas music, and that's what you're bringing to the table. And I love that. I just think that's one of the beauties about what we do. None of us are making money on this. We all work regular lives outside of all the Christmas stuff that we do online, and it's not about money. It's about just the love of the season.
And when we say a Christmas expert, that doesn't mean you have to know everything. God knows I don't know everything about Christmas music. I am constantly finding new stuff, not just new releases from this year, but new things that I didn't even know existed that are 20, 30, 40, 50 years old. I am, or that somebody in the 1970s recorded a Christmas single and I had no idea. I'm constantly finding out new things. And I have a library that has approaching, I think our on-air library is close to 15,000 songs. But I don't consider myself somebody who knows everything. I'm always ready to learn. And if you collect Christmas trains, if you know a lot about Christmas trains, that's cool. And that's enough. You don't have to feel, when you see it says, "Are you a Christmas expert?" Don't feel like you're not good enough, smart enough, strong enough, whatever. Your passion for it is enough.
Yeah. And you'll find people who share those passions, regardless, no matter what it is that's Christmas related. You're going to find people who have an appreciation for it, and there's real community in that, and that's what makes it fun.
That is so cool. Anything else that we have missed that you want to mention about Christmas in July or about MyMerryChristmas.com in general?
Oh, there's a billion things. I would just invite folks to come and join the party. You're never too late. You're never too early. And you're always appropriately dressed. So, come on in and have a good time with us. Share your Christmas with us. That's what we enjoy.
Jeff, thanks so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thanks, Ken. Appreciate it.
And thank you for listening and helping this podcast continue to grow. We're on about 24 different podcasting sites, including MyMerryChristmas.com. And since you're listening to us now, you've obviously found us somewhere. But if there's another site you like to use for podcasts, check out our podcast page on our website for the complete list of everywhere you can listen to the Sounds of Christmas podcast. Again, the website is www.soundsofchristmas.com. Then just click on the podcast tab. For the Sounds of Christmas station, to listen to the music, you'll need to stick with our website or our app in the Google Play Store. In the meantime, if you have comments or suggestions, feel free to reach out to me on social media or through our website. Thanks again, and may you always believe in Santa Claus.